I'll be starting with the very basics of juvenile onset primary open glaucoma. I'll be starting with what exactly is juvenile open angle glaucoma, how it's been defined. The European Glaucoma Society defined GOAG as OAG with onset between 10 and 40 years of age, associated in many cases with a positive family history and with an association to a gene mutation on chromosome 1 and myosin. What is a suspect? A suspect is increase in intraocular pressure of more than 31 millimeter mercury in the same age group with a positive gene mutation or with at least two risk factors, that is IOP of more than 22 millimeter and less than 30, or a IOP difference between eyes of more than 4 millimeters, family history of glaucoma, and manifest GOAG in the other eye. The GOAG presents with a wide spectrum of clinical presentations, and mostly it is characterized by autosomal dominant inheritance, high intraocular pressure. The intraocular pressure in this type of glaucoma is most of the times is very, very high, like ranging between 30 to 50, a very deep concentric cupping, and generalized field loss. As Dr. Vinay said, this is not so uncommon in this part of the world. In India, various studies have suggested that it is 3% of the total patients seen in glaucoma clinic, as opposed to US, where it is seen only in 0.7% cases. Now, why it is so important? Because it is not so uncommon. It is very ill understood. And the long-term management, since it occurs in younger patients, it requires a long-term management, and which has a cost implication attached to it. So it is very, very important. Now, what is the pathophysiology of angle closure, juvenile angle closure glaucoma? Basically, it is because of the angle malformation. Histologically, GOAG shows an abnormal compact trabecular meshwork which represents immature development of aqueous drainage system and which accounts for an increased resistance to aqueous flow. Usually, the diagnosis of GOAG is made on routine eye examination. Patient doesn't come for any complaint to us. We just diagnose it on a slit lamp and 90D examination, as there are no alarming signs of this disease and there is a substantial variability in presentation of the disease. Slit lamp examination is usually normal. However, almost 50% of the patients have abnormal angle in terms of prominent iris processes, high insertion of iris, or thickening of trabecular meshwork, or a grayish pallor color of the trabecular meshwork. So, although some of the patients have absolutely normal angle, the other 2/3 of the patients have some or the other angle abnormality. Again, you have various disc and field presentation. The patient may have just borderline intraocular pressure with definitive disc pressure, disc changes and normal fields. On the other hand, the patients may present with very high intraocular pressure and advanced cupping and field changes. Now, there are various studies done by Dr. Vinay Gupta et al. He has done extensive work in this particular condition, and there are various papers from AIIMS, and one of the papers shows clinical and socio-demographic factors associated with the severity of juvenile open angle glaucoma, and this study shows that there was a male predominance. Almost 80% of the patients presented were male. There was equal distribution of GOAG patients among different sub-age groups, that is ranging from 10 to 40. Positive family history was present only in 25% of the patients. Like 75% of the patients did not have any family history of the condition, and the patient pressure ranged between 21 to 50, and most of the patients present with the range of 25 to 30, and 15 to 20% of the patients present with a range between 40 to 50. As I said, 1/3 of the patients had normal angles, whereas developmental anomalies were seen in 65% of the patients, or 2/3 of the patient, and most common angle anomaly was high iris insertion, followed by prominent iris processes and featureless angle. Patients with angle dysgenesis tend to have higher intraocular pressure, and they presented with more severe disease on presentation. Then another study showed the extent of asymmetry and unilaterality among juvenile open angle glaucoma, and almost a fourth of patients had unilateral optic neuropathy. That means the other eye was absolutely normal in terms of intraocular pressure and optic nerve changes. Then also there were differences in the optic nerve characteristics of primary congenital glaucoma, juvenile and adult onset angle closure glaucoma, and it was seen that the optic disc tend to be larger in case of juvenile open angle glaucoma as compared to POAG. So you can see here that the size of the disc is more in case of juvenile open angle glaucoma as compared to POAG. And also this correlation between the disc area and age at the diagnosis, that is, the earlier the patient presents, the larger the disc. Since it occurs at the younger age, you should differentiate it from other conditions which can present like congenital glaucoma, pigment dispersion syndrome, or steroid-induced glaucoma, or primary angle closure glaucoma. Although the differentiation is not so difficult, however, one should be able to differentiate in terms of intraocular pressure. The steroid-induced glaucoma presented with the highest intraocular pressure and MG values, followed by juvenile and then followed by POAG. I would just like to discuss this case which presented to us as angle closure glaucoma. He complained of blurring of vision, pain, watering in the left eye, and was diagnosed to have angle closure glaucoma somewhere else. When he presented to us, he was on maximal medical therapy. The vision was 6/12 in the right eye, and gonioscopy showed closed angle with high iris insertion. The fundus evaluation showed 0.9 cupping with no rim, 180 degrees, and in the left eye also more or less similar picture, although it was more advanced with RAPD and disc pallor. You can see this, in the left eye there was RAPD, the angle was shallow, and there was presence of high iris insertion in this patient. You can see in the gonioscopy. And the UBM also showed narrow angles, although the configuration of iris was flat, like it was not convex as you tend to see in angle closure glaucoma. So this is a differentiating feature, that in juvenile open angle glaucoma, although the angle may be narrow as the iris is attaching this trabecular meshwork or maybe at the Schwalbe's line, the high iris insertion, but the configuration of the iris will not be convex. So this patient had GOAG with angle dysgenesis, and ultimately, since this patient was on maximal medical therapy, we started him on, we performed trabeculectomy in this particular patient in both eyes. Another differential diagnosis would be late congenital glaucoma, and all these secondary glaucomas associate like developmental glaucomas, because the age range is same. However, most of these conditions have some or the other abnormality, intraocular abnormality or systemic abnormality, which can differentiate it from juvenile open angle glaucoma. Another patient presented to us at 27 years, female, and she also was diagnosed as open angle glaucoma with advanced glaucoma, and she was operated for the same elsewhere. When she presented, her pressure was very low. She was post trabeculectomy, so pressure was 2 in the right eye and 22 in the left eye. There was a large bleb superiorly, and there was presence of macular folds and temporal choroidals. That means there was over filtration, and this is the disc status. The discs are looking pale, and this is the advanced field damage in both the eyes, and OCT also showed extensive damage. And I sent that patient to Dr. Vinay for pedigree charting. She didn't have a family history of glaucoma positive. She was the only proband in the family who had juvenile open angle glaucoma. Subsequently, we managed her conservatively for the right eye. The hypotonic maculopathy resolved. the pressure became normal. However, the left eye pressures were very high on maximal medical therapy, and subsequently she underwent trabeculectomy with mitomycin C. So, and now she is doing well. So like some of these patients do require surgical intervention. They are not well controlled with medication. Another patient, 42-year-old male, and he was also diagnosed as glaucoma somewhere else. His pressures were controlled on maximal medical therapy, and the disc were glaucomatous. There were discrepancy between the two eyes. However, and OCT was also correlating well with the disc findings. However, to my surprise, the fields were not so bad. So you do get variability of presentation in such patients. So although I had planned trabeculectomy for this particular patient, but since fields were reasonably okay, so I didn't intervene surgically, and he was just kept on medical management. So there's a lot of variability of clinical presentation. Sometimes there's no, like in only 25% patients have family history positive, and we often miss diagnosis of these patients because they do not even have any symptoms. So if family history is positive, these patients should be identified early and followed up very frequently. Even when you see them, they don't have glaucoma, you need to call them for frequent follow-up, at least yearly follow-up, so that you can pick up glaucoma at a very early stage. And therapeutic or surgical interventions are usually effective in minimizing loss of vision and delay progression of the disease. I think Dr. Vinay is going to talk about it, that the progression rates are not very high in case of juvenile open angle glaucoma. Thank you very much.